The Morgan Report with David Morgan.
David Morgan, themorganreport.com for the weekly perspective for the week ending 5 November 2021. Well, I'm on the landing page for thesilvermanifesto.com. This is a second book written by myself and Chris Marchese. There's a little video here. We republished about 1,000 copies, and we're about halfway done. We got about 500 that have been purchased. We've shipped just about anywhere except the UK. I'm sorry about that. It's just that every time we've gone to the UK, customs gives us a big hassle and ships the book back to us, and then we have a client that's pretty upset, as they should be. So, and there is a PDF version available. Wanted to do something a little different this week, and this was from the New Orleans Gold Show, which just finished. And I did not attend this year, and thank you, Brian London, for all you've done for the precious metals community, and he's asked me to be a keynote there several times, and always enjoy New Orleans, always enjoy the Sound Money Conference or the Gold Conference in New Orleans. So this is something that is very close to my heart, and it's a speech that's written out, not verbatim, but close, from Lawrence Lepard, and I listened to most of it. I'm going to put it on our free list, our, basic Morgan Report free list. So if you're on that, you will have a link to be able to watch this speech. But basically, his title is Fix the Money, Fix the World. Now, his thoughts on the moral basis of sound money in our future. This is really one of the main premises of me, and I think he's done a much better job, honestly, than what I've done. Although this is my main message. I mean, my mission statement is to teach and empower people to understand the benefits of an honest monetary system. So as you can see, I have monetary in my mission statement, but I don't have gold or silver. And the mission statement is all about, what it means to have an honest system. So as it says, this is an abridged version. He talks about coming from the Austrian school. He did a shout out to Gada and some other folks. Of course, I adhere to the Austrian school. Fix the money, fix the world. I basically strongly believe in this statement. It's easy to draw a line and connect the dots between nearly all society's ills and the de-evolution of our system into one based upon unsound money. Now, I've often said that there is a direct correlation between the debasement of the currency and the decline of the moral society, of the moral structure of a society. So basically saying the same thing. He attributes, as I should and have in the past, Dr. Ron Paul, who's nobly said, and he quotes, "It's no coincidence that the century of total war coincided with the century of central banking," end quote. And I'll add on to here, this is, again, my perspective, that there is Rivera did a movie documentary, All Wars Are Bankers' Wars. I suggest you look that up in a search engine. I think you can watch it for free. If not, it's certainly worth whatever he charges to get that and have it in your collection. All wars are bankers' wars. Sound money is a moral issue. I agree. We know that a civilized society, because of language laws and communications, societies run on data and information. Prices are the most important piece of information in a human society. At the base of all prices is the money layer. Interest rate, or the price of money, which helps to balance preferences, matching savers, and investment. Improve the productivity and living standards, and this goes into the division of labor, and he talks about Keynes being wrong. This highlighted part, furthermore, not just the ancients who understood the moral imperative of honest money. The lesson has carried down through the ages as hundreds of experiments with unsound fiat money have ended in tragedy and at terrible human cost. Now, I've said it for years, and I continue to shout it, that all fiat fails. Now, if I could get everybody on the planet to understand that statement is true, and 10% of those people took action, and the only action history's proven is that you can store value in the form of precious metals. And maybe cryptos will work. I'm not going to say they wouldn't, but I know the metals have throughout history. That would cause a great influx into sound money, not because gold or silver or anything that's, outside the laws of humanity or physics or anything else. It would simply be because the known is coming to the fore, meaning that fiat is failing, and what are you going to do about it? And, there's three kinds of people in this world. This is an old joke of mine, or I was taught this joke. There's people that make things happen. There's people that watch things happen. And there's people that wonder what the heck happened. And unfortunately, I would say that there's about a 90 percentile in the third category. These people are going to wake up way too late in order to be able to do anything because the system will be in a quote-unquote collapsed mode, and their ability to protect themselves will have passed them by. He goes on to say our country experienced hyperinflation in the Continental, which led to the Founding Fathers in 1879 codifying only gold and silver could be money in the Constitution. Sadly, like other promises that are beautifully constructed document of the meaning, intent, and practical application of that idea has been so trampled and violated as to be rendered it all but meaningless. Another highlighted part, 100 years of central banking, a brief summary, of course, going back to 1913, when almost anyone listening to me would certainly know some history of the Federal Reserve, so I won't belabor it. I'll just go in this highlighted part. Talks about the forming, and in the early 20s, through lax policies, they, meaning the Fed, blew the largest bubble in the history of the world at that time, exploded in 1929, throwing the world into a depression. The misery was immense. In 1933-34, they confiscated gold. Well, they nationalized it. I won't get into that debate, but gold was no longer available to be used in transactions, only fiat. Although gold was used internationally, it just wasn't used internally. FDR made the holding of gold illegal for U.S. citizens, which removed the ability of the gold standard for the common man. In the 1940s, they financially repressed savers to finance World War II. Post-war growth masked a lot of sins until the Vietnam War, and social programs led to a default of the dollar in 1971, about 50 years ago. Then things got really rolling. Default led to the 1970s runaway inflation, stopped by Volcker's 20% interest rates, and that nearly bankrupted a lot of people. He talks about his father's furniture business. No worries to the 80s and 90s. Technology and deflation allowed a respite until they abandoned the Glass-Steagall, which is very important. Look that up if you don't know, and nationalized markets and invented zero interest rate policy. All this is manifestly wrong. And he goes in to discuss more about the zero interest rate policy and what it means. So how do we protect ourselves and our families? He goes into that. You can look at this chart, the growth of a $10,000 investment, looking at the GDX and looking at the S&P. And it's interesting when you see this from a longer-term perspective. Gold's really done respectably well in that time frame, and it's supposed to protect your wealth over a long period of time. And it does. Although you can get in at a high and, suffer for 8-9 years, as some have. I understand that. But nonetheless, from a longer term perspective, it almost always protects your wealth. Talks about gold and Bitcoin. And you can, you Bitcoin people will probably enjoy reading that. Shows you, different graphs of, what these markets look like, broadband internet. I mean, these things are very subtle at first, and then they get into this exponential growth rate and maintain it, and then it levels off, and you can see that's true of, cell phone industry, automobile industry, broadband internet, and projection for Bitcoin is what he's showing here. Lots of interesting comments that he's made. I think he'll say here, like, Paul Tudor Jones, I believe, is going to be the fastest horse in a monetary debasement race. Although it's not without problems and risks, key security and key management are issues. The volatility is insane, although decreasing. Can government attack? Sure. But to what end? And sure, but to what end? And they are behind the curve. The more you learn about it, the more you realize that it's very attack-proof. I may disagree with that somewhat. I won't go into that now. Sound money for the win. Long live gold. You are the remnant. You are the righteous ones. You bought gold at 1900 and 2011. Watch it go to 1050, and you did not know why, but you hung on. You did the right thing, and you will win. I would like to ask for a show of hands. This is him speaking. I'm reading his speech, condensed version. If you're in the room today and believe gold because it is sound money and have suffered for that belief, raise your hand. This is the message from the Bible. Jesus, Job, Noah, Paul. It's not easy to do what is right, but that does not mean you don't do it. We've suffered pain, but working to permanently establish honest weights and measures in the world is worth it. Many here have been fighting this fight for years and years. I'll put my hand up for that. We are tired, beaten down, worried that we might have chosen the wrong path. But I am here to say that in my mind, we are on the right path. We are the righteous ones, and they are the thieves and liars. We will win, and our kids and grandkids will win. Someday my grandchildren will marvel that the entire world's financial system collapsed because a small, centralized group of arrogant, greedy people convinced the world to give them control of the money supply and interest rates. What were we thinking, they will ask. The world will return to sound money because unsound money simply does not work. It has nearly ruined our society, and that is becoming evident. We want our kids to live better lives. We will have to return to sound money. The collapse of the existing monetary system will make this obvious. So, Leonard, thank you. I hope you've enjoyed this. You may agree, you may disagree. Regardless, think about it. So I'll end there. And remember, there's nothing more powerful than the truth. This is David Morgan of themorganreport.com. I'll be back with you next week with another weekly perspective.